James Baldwin, an essayist, playwright, poet, and social critic. Truly a Renaissance man of the Harlem Renaissance period. Through his many novels and essays, he changed people's outlooks and views on discrimination and provided a new perspective on how bad it really was during his lifetime. His strong writing techniques allowed him to eloquently put readers in individual shoes to exhibit it firsthand. His many awe-inspiring writing pieces conveyed his strong beliefs about discrimination problems in society and impacted the black community as well as people as a whole. His strong standpoints on racism in America proved to be insightful, as it shows itself numerous times in modern-day society. James Baldwin's development of prodigious writing techniques started at a young age. He was born on August 2, 1924 in Harlem, New York. Being born to a young single mother, Emma Jones, James Baldwin was reportedly never told the name of his biological father. When James was teased and abused at the age of 10 by 2 New York police officers, an instance of racial harassment by the NYPD, this instance must have sparked an act of recognition that would show itself in his essays. After his mother married a Baptist minister, David Baldwin, James followed in his father's footsteps for a short time by serving as a youth minister from ages 14 to 16. Aside from his job as a minister, he truly showed a strong passion for reading at an early age, and this carried on until he started writing some of his own novels. His gift of writing started to show itself during his years in school. In middle school, James was strongly influenced by poet Countee Cullen, who was a leading figure in the Harlem Renaissance at the time. While attending DeWitt Clinton High School in the Bronx, James wrote for the school's magazine, where he published many short stories, poems, and plays. His strong writing skills resembled that of a sophisticated author, not of a young boy. However, James disliked the high school he was in because of the constant racial slurs being used there. After graduating from high school in 1942, James had to postpone his plans for college to help out the family. During this time, he took whatever jobs were available and frequently encountered discrimination, simply because he was African American. After being fired from a railroad job in New Jersey, he sought other jobs and was awakened even more about the prevalent racial slurs all around him. On July 29, 1943, Baldwin lost his father and gained an 8th sibling on the same day. Soon after that, he moved to Greenwich Village, a neighborhood in New York City where many writers and artists resided. This served as a turning point in his life when he first devoted himself to writing a novel. He took many jobs while doing this to support himself, and in the process he befriended a writer, Richard Wright. Through Richard, James was able to cover his expenses towards the profession of a writer. James started getting some of his works published in national periodicals like The Nation, Partisan Review, and Commentary. Yet another turning point in James's life occurred when he moved to Paris. This dramatic shift allowed him to write more about his personal background. He said, "Once I found myself on the other side of the ocean, I see where I came from very clearly. I am the grandson of a slave, and I am a writer." James Baldwin's first novel, Go Tell It on the Mountain, was published in 1953. The autobiographical memoir focused on the life of a young man growing up in Harlem, dealing with religion and issues with his father. One of Baldwin's most impactful novels was Nobody Knows My Name, which was a look at the treatment of blacks in America. This book quickly hit the bestsellers list, selling more than 1 million copies. James Baldwin began to emerge as one of the most influential beings in the civil rights movement through his enthralling writing pieces. In 1963, James Baldwin wrote another major writing piece. A noted change from his normal works, this essay collection was meant to educate whites on what it meant and felt like to be black. It gave white readers a clear view of themselves through a person from the black community, as they were able to see what was experienced through the eyes of another person. He said, "If we do not falter in our duty now, we may be able to end the racial nightmare." These words struck like lightning through the American people, and this book sold more than 1 million copies, a real breakthrough. In the same year, James Baldwin was featured on the cover of Time magazine. It read, "There is not another writer, white or black, who expresses with such poignancy and abrasiveness the dark realities of the racial ferment in North and South." Later, James Baldwin wrote a play. It was titled Blues for Mr. Charlie. The storyline of it focused on a murder of a young African-American boy that had a racial motivation. By the early 1970s, Baldwin was disgusted by the racial situation that still occurred in America. He witnessed the assassinations of important civil rights activists such as Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, and was very disturbed by it. The fact that people's lives were being lost simply because of racial hatred was truly concerning to James Baldwin. He continued to produce more essays, and they got more critical as he continued to gain knowledge about racial hatred in America. Towards the end of James's life, he taught a class on his experiences as a professor at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst and Hampshire College. Baldwin soon died at his home in St. Paul de Vence, France. He stated that he never wanted to be a major speaker or leader. He just wanted to educate people, and felt that it was his job to manifest through his writing pieces severity of racial discrimination and hatred. He most definitely accomplished this literary mission through his emphatic works of writing.